Hello, my name is Alex and welcome to today's IELTS analysis class where I'll be looking at expanding vocabulary for writing task 1. So this is an important element of your writing. Vocabulary is 25% of your writing grade. So it's important that we're using the appropriate words in the appropriate context in order to score as highly as possible in this particular task. So if you are watching today live, let me know that you're here. Just say hi in the chat box. And if you are watching this video post-recording, I hope you find it useful. And do your best to apply the vocabulary that we look at today within the context of your writing going forward. So let's have a look at the task itself. I can share this with you now. And I should say as well, if you are watching this class live, please do like and share so as many students as possible can benefit from what we are looking at together. So hello, Faiz. Great to see you in the class today. Thanks for saying hi. So here is the task. Hello to you, Bert. Great to see you in the class. So we can see then, between A and B, this is the example, the actual trend was that it dipped. So we can see that it reduced and it climbed a little bit, but overall there was a dip between the value where it was at point A and where we ended up with point B. Okay, so it dipped overall. So we have to be careful when we're looking at the answers to this question. We need to say what happened overall with the trend. Where was the value at the beginning? Did anything interesting happen in between? And where did we end up by the end? So if you've got the answers to these questions, do feel free to share them in the class today. And then you can see if you have got them correct. So B to C then, we can see here that we've got a fall, a sharp fall. Another way to talk about a sharp fall is to say that something plummeted. So that would be D. So BC would be plummeted. A really short, well, a really sharp, steep fall is what we're looking at here. Okay, so that will be the answer to the first one. Let's have a look at the next part of the graph. So now we're looking at B to D. Okay, so we looked at B to C. B to C was plummeted. B to D is a little bit different. You can see it plummets and then it's quite level, isn't it, just at the end there? And so that would be the answer for B to D, is that it fell and then leveled off. That's what happens between C and D, is that leveling off. Next we have D to F. And we can see that if we look at the value where it was at point D, and we see where it gets to with point F, that we have a steep and dramatic increase. And another way to talk about a dramatic increase is to say that it soared. So the value soared between D and F. And that will be the answer for that one. So how are we doing so far? Have we gotten the correct answers? Let me know if there are any answers that you're unsure about. So Faiz, how can you develop your pronunciation and vocabulary? Well, this exercise is focusing on developing your vocabulary. For writing part 1, you will see that it's very common that you have to describe a trend and you have to describe how a value either increases, decreases, or remains stable. So learning these key phrases and being able to use them in the correct context will definitely help with your vocabulary. Moving on. So if we have a look at F, what happens with F? Well, if we look at the value, F is the highest value on the chart. So we can say that with F, we hit a peak. And so that will be the answer for F. Okay, that was the highest value, also known as the peak. Now we're looking at the values between F and H. We can see there's a lot of variation here, can't we? So it falls steeply, then it increases slightly, then it falls steeply again, and then it soars, and then eventually it decreases. So a lot happens between F and H. And so what we can say is that the value fluctuated. So between F and H, we would go with this description, fluctuated. Anna, hello. Good to see you in the class today. And Albatroas as well. Great to see you in the class. Let's see what we've got next. So next we have G. G again being isolated, and G is the opposite to F in the sense that F is the highest point and G is the lowest point. So whereas F hit a peak, at point G, we have hit a low in the graph, and so we can just make that connection there. So G hit a low. Okay, so now we're looking at the second line, and we can see that this second line is much less dramatic than the first one. There are fewer increases, fewer decreases. It's more stable overall. So the language we use should reflect that. So between I to H, we can see that there was a gradual increase between J and H. It wasn't much of an increase, but it was an increase. And so we can go with E. It rose gradually. Okay, that will be the value between I to J. Between J to K, there is no change. Virtually, there is no change. It stays almost exactly the same. And so we can describe it as it remained flat or remained stable. So that would be the answer for number 9. And finally, between L to M, we can see that there is a slight decrease. And so we can say that the value fell gradually. And that will be the answer to the final point. So those are the answers then to this task. Hopefully you got them all correct and you were able to recognize the meanings of the words and phrases and how they related to the graph. If you did make any errors, or if any of these words were new to you, my advice is to review and revise them carefully, because these represent really useful vocabulary for writing task part 1. And you can see we've got some synonyms here that can be used. So for rose, gradually, rose is a synonym we could use for increase. A lot of people talk about increase, decrease, which is fine. But just for a bit of variety, instead of saying increased, we could say rose. And rose is the past tense of rise. Okay, so that's the past in this case. Rise is the infinitive, from whence we derive the past rose. And instead of decrease, we can see here fell can be used as well as a synonym for it decreased, and obviously fell as the past tense of fall. And also we've got here level off. If something levels off, a synonym we could use for level off is plateau. So we can extend this as well, but we don't need to know too many varieties. If we have 2 ways of describing increasing, decreasing, leveling off, then we are doing pretty well. So as I say, make sure that you do review the vocabulary from this task if any of it is new, and I will see you again on Thursday for our next IELTS analysis class. Until then, take care.